Welcome to another episode of the Missed Retrospective here with Kirby Carreon, where we take a look at the classics through a modern lens. And I've got a guest here with me today who I feel I'm going to learn a lot about, actually, after this conversation's said and done, because we know of each other through reality of wrestling. You told me one day that you wanted to do commentary, and I was like, all right, bet. More people that want to do commentary. But outside of just the memes that happened in the group chat and stuff, I don't really feel like I know much about your history and stuff like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is Alex Deveraux, who is actually a co-commentator with me on the breakout shows, who we are currently trying to, train you to get to that next level and whatnot and stuff. So before I start going off on a tangent and whatnot, why don't you let the people know a little bit about yourself? That way, again, they can kind of get to see your experience with wrestling and where you come from.
Well, I'm the baddest in the game with nobody in my lane. I'm the Des Moines Diva, the pink print. I'm the last better man, Alex Deveraux. My first sight of wrestling was actually in Lucha Underground.
Okay.
So when it comes to like outside WWE, that's like, I know more like indie guys, but I also do know, the WWE stuff and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I've been watching wrestling since like 2015.
Okay, so you're still fresh, like 10 years into it.
Yeah. Literally 10 years.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So because a lot of the times that I talk to people, obviously, like a lot of people are like, oh, WWE was it, WWE was it. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm starting to meet the younger people, a lot of them are like, oh, I love TNA, I love Lucha Underground, I love, not the alternative, or rather the alternative stuff rather than, what was mainstream and everything. So what captivated you to pro wrestling, I guess?
So, okay, it was honestly like the masks. Mm-hmm. Like that was the first like attention getter, obviously. And then, they had all this freaking like crazy colors and like the gear and everything was crazy. But first match I saw was Pentagon and Chavo Guerrero versus Sexy Star and Rey Fenix. And it was freaking Sexy hitting this springboard crossbody on the outside. And I was like, holy, girls fighting guys and like the guys actually hitting back and like this shit is dope.
Yeah.
And then the Ultima Lucha matches where they would have like freaking Cage stomping someone through a cinder block and all that shit. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess like I've always heard of the story, like you flip through channels and you find stuff. Mm-hmm. How did you just randomly find Lucha Underground as your first thing? Because that's a very random network on a very small show at the time. Like, especially Lucha Underground, the first season.
Dude, so, okay, me and my brother, we watched Nacho Libre, right?
That's funny. Hold on, before you continue, that's actually something I'm covering on the podcast soon. I just need to find somebody to talk to about it. So that's coming soon. It's coming
soon. Vaquero, dude. He'll talk about that for 3 hours if you want. But yeah, so we watched Nacho Libre, and then Netflix, like my brother was probably scrolling through, and it was like, since you watched Nacho Libre, watch Lucha Underground, right?
Gotcha.
And so one day I just walk in the kitchen, I look at the TV, I see Sexy Star doing this crazy shit, and I'm like, that's dope. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can curse on this, it's fine.
Oh, I can? Okay,
yeah.
Dope. And I was like, this is cool as fuck. And yeah, ever since then.
Gotcha.
And then actually later that year, it was right after WrestleMania 33, so Randy was champion. Mm-hmm. My parents were like, well, you guys like wrestling, WWE's in town, let's take you to SmackDown. And this was me and my brother's first time ever watching WWE was live. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, who the hell is Mojo Rawley, Dolph Ziggler? This is right when Shinsuke was getting big. Mm-hmm. So Shinsuke is my favorite wrestler.
Gotcha.
Kind of because of that, just because he's just still so cool.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it was crazy.
Have you, just out of curiosity, before we start getting into the match, have you ever watched Shinsuke outside of WWE?
One match, and it was while I was working because I was bartending and it was dead. No, I lied, 2 matches. Shinsuke versus AJ at Wrestle Kingdom, and Shinsuke versus Tetsuya Naito at, I think, the Wrestle Kingdom right before.
I would highly recommend his match with Kota Ibushi because that's how I found him, and that was insanity. And again, that was my first exposure to Shinsuke Nakamura. Okay, so that's really interesting. So Netflix is just like, hey, you watch Jack Black be a fake Mexican wrestler. Now watch all these other Mexican wrestlers duke it out in probably one of the craziest shows that I've ever seen.
Yeah. Dude, I got the logo tattooed on my calf.
I always see that and I'm just like, that's I find that amazing just because of how like followed and I guess devoted, no pun intended, were the fans of, Lucha Underground, because I mean, before I think it was like the final season where I stopped. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they took a break after Johnny Mundo and Willie Mack did the all night long match for the championship. I think that's what it was. And after that, they took a break off TV where I just kind of never really fell back in love with it. Right. But that first season, sensational.
Dude, that first season.
The second season, dude, sensational.
The steel cage match, Prince Puma versus Johnny Mundo, freaking Phoenix and Mil Muertes, dude. Yeah. Oh, we could talk all night about that.
Yeah,
but
no, Lucha Underground was phenomenal. But again, at first when I reached out there, we talked about doing an episode together. You were like, Lucha Underground. I was like, I've seen the majority of it, and anything past like the third and a half season, like the halfway point of the third season, I was like, probably not. Yeah. And then you're like, well, what about ECW? And I was like, I just did an ECW match, so sure. And then you mentioned Taz, so I was like,
Love
okay,
Taz.
Cool. I will get into it because I've never seen Taz work. I only know about his burial, quote unquote, from WWE, the alleged burial. Because again, I haven't seen it. I just know the stories and whatnot. And he was never really the same after that. And to me, Taz is a commentator because that's my favorite team, Cole and Taz, because I grew up on SmackDown. So I guess like to go on to this now from Lucha Underground to ECW, we're going to be talking about Masato Tanaka, Taz, and Mike Awesome, the three-way dance in ECW in 1999, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was barely legal, 1999.
I think it was like Anarchy Rulz, because that's the link that I sent you. Okay, cool.
It was one of those two.
So
it was Anarchy
we
Rulz,
watched that one, and I watched it last night, and again, just trying to connect the bridge here, connect the dots. How do you go from finding Lucha Underground to now wanting to watch ECW? Because again, I asked, it's like, what's your favorite match? And you're like, this one. I'm like, that's not what I expected. So sure. So how do we get there?
So Matt Stryker, unpopular opinion, he's low-key kind of a good commentator. You know what I mean?
Hot take.
I know, dude. But
no shade.
Again, is what I grew up with. Yeah. But you would always hear him during these like hardcore matches or like whatever, where they're like pulling out chairs and like caskets and all that stuff. And he would always be like, oh, you think of hardcore legends, Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, Terry Funk, Mick Foley. I'm like, who are these guys? So I just like, I was thinking about it, right? And then the lockdown happened, and I was like, well, I guess I'll watch NXT. So I started watching NXT, and I was like, wait, literally everything's on here, ECW, WCW, whatever. So I was like, let me start watching some ECW, dude. And yeah, I just kind of fell in love with it just because it's just fun. It's like such a fun, chaotic energy that you can't really find anywhere else.
I would agree with the chaos. Because there's two matches so far that I've seen from ECW, if you don't count like highlights and everything. And that's probably the best word to describe it, chaos. Because as somebody coming from the outside looking in, I'm just like, I want to know what's happening. And again, you know this because I've talked to you about this, the commentary stuff, right? I want the commentators to tell me a story. I want them to tell me why these people are fighting. And there were some nuggets dropped here and there, but they talked about, the biggest thing that they kept talking about during commentary was how Masato Tanaka had always been Mike Awesome, and Mike Awesome had never been Tanaka. And I was like, okay, cool, I get that. That's the hill to overcome and everything. And then they talk about Taz being a very dominant world champion. And I was like, okay, cool, but how? And it's like, has he been champion for 2 years, 3 years? Has he beaten every single person for 15 months? I don't know. Like, they don't give me a scope, right? Which, again, it's a completely different style. That's why I never fault anybody for not doing it the WWE style. But yeah, so I guess, again, was it just finding those matches where you're just like, this is what I like?
Yeah, kind of. Because so I do like hardcore wrestling and like death matches, but like when they're done good. You know, when it's just some dude who saw Kevin Owens do it and is like, I can do that shit. I'm like, no, you can't. But when it's like RVD and Sabu and these dudes from this Japanese place called BJW, you think freaking ECW's crazy? They're ECW on crack, okay? Like, they're insane. But like, when people who like can actually do it, and it looks good, it's like, it's crazy because it's like, you're actually like, normal wrestling, or I shouldn't say normal, but like, you know, the standard traditional, yeah, there is a lot of risk and, you know, whatever. But when it's like hardcore death matches, there's just an extra like 2-3 layers of risk. And you're doing all that just so I can be like, holy this is great. You know what I mean? It's just a different level of, well, I shouldn't say level. It's a different type of respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I got you. I can tell you right now, I'm not a fan of deathmatch wrestling at all. I feel like I've made that very clear with some people, and I can appreciate a good hardcore match here and there and everything when, again, the story calls for it, right? The first hardcore match I ever experienced, not because I saw it, but because I saw like the highlights during SmackDown and stuff, was the McFoley Randy Orton match in Backlash 2004.
With the tack RKO.
Yeah. So that was my first like exposure to hardcore matches, but I didn't have cable then. By WrestleMania 21, that's when I actually was forced to sit through a hardcore match, and that was Edge McFoley.
Oh, that was such a good one, though.
Incredible.
Yeah,
I think that was WrestleMania 22 actually.
Yeah,
21,
I think it was
21 or 22, one of those two.
They were in New York.
And I was like, this was incredible. Holy crap. And you know, now I go back and listen to the interviews of the time, like, oh yeah, this is what me and McFoley had planned. You know, this was like, I actually had skin and hair burnt off during this spear, and I was like, holy crap. And then I was like, that was cool. But it's still kind of, you know, as a kid, I was like, that's amazing. But now as I'm older and I start realizing the risk that they took, I was like, I'm not sure about it. And then I see people go through hardcore, like death matches, and I'm like, that ain't for me, dog.
Yeah,
like,
no. I would never do a death. Well, okay, I shouldn't say never, but you would have to pay me a lot to do a death match.
I mean, it's the risk, right? That's
dude.
That's mostly what it is.
Yeah. Like the stuff John Moxley be doing, like on the weekly.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's not for me, dog.
And here's the thing too that I want to point out. Like, we're not. I mean, I don't know about you, but I know I'm not trying to shit on deathmatch wrestling. Everybody's got their cup of tea. It's a different flavor of ice cream.
Right.
That's my mint chocolate chip. I'm not a fan of it. It exists amongst the scope of the ice cream that I like. But I'm like, you guys can enjoy that. You guys do that. That's fine. So when I go back to watch any ECW stuff, I always have to, like, you know, kind of be prepared because I feel like I'm going to see something insane.
Because you are.
And so far, the two matches that I've seen haven't been as insane as I've built them up in my head.
What's the other one?
The other one was in a previous episode that I did with Gustavo. It was Jerry Lynn and RVD.
Which one?
The one where it was a time limit draw, but then Jerry Lynn asked for 5 more minutes.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I love that one.
That was one that I did with Gustavo. Definitely go listen to it after this, by the way. I'll link it to everybody so that way you can just go straight into the conversation from here. But no, it was great because, again, I expected some, you know, incredibly crazy stuff. Like, we're gonna set a table on fire or something like that. No. And now that after talking to Gustavo, he kind of like really like tempered my expectation of what an ECW match was. But I know that I'm still going to see, like, you know, the chair shots and like, you know, the tables and et cetera and all that stuff. And that's within the scope of ECW. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I guess now, as we start to get into the match, how did we get to this match? Like, what was the story leading into it?
So I don't know how we got to Taz versus Tanaka, if I'm honest.
Okay.
But I know that, you know, the story was, Awesome and Tanaka, or Tanaka always beat Awesome, Awesome never beat Tanaka, right? And I guess during the build up to the Taz and Tanaka match, they were using footage of Tanaka beating the out of Mike Awesome, right? So then, like, Taz is like barely in the ring at this point, right? And you see everyone in the crowd like looking over, and like there's this big commotion, right? And then all of a sudden, Taz just grabs the mic and is like, "You big bastard, get your ass in here!" in his heavy-ass New York, Brooklyn accent.
That sounded nothing like a New York accent, but go off.
But you heard it. He's like, "You big bastard, get in here!" And then he does his survive
like Boston, dude.
He's like, "You want this ass whooping?" I love Taz, dude. But so then Mike Awesome gets in the ring. It's like, it just adds like, what the fuck's going, just like the chaos of ECW.
Yeah.
It's like, we were supposed to have Taz and Tanaka, and now a freaking big 6'7" dude is in the fucking ring. It's like, what the hell is gonna happen? But no, it's just such a good, like, I do think it is the best ECW match, like, ever. Cause you do have like, cause it's hard to, like, when you're talking in the scope of ECW, it's hard to come up with like the best match. Cause you have like, oh, ECW is supposed to be this hardcore promotion, so it has to be, all the hardcore matches. But then you also have like Lance Storm and Super Crazy and, you know, all those guys where it's like, no, it has to be the most like technical match. But like you have the technical in the beginning with Taz, with the triple threat, and then Taz gets eliminated.
Yeah.
And then you have all the hardcore stuff with Tanaka and Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a literally mix of what ECW is.
And that was the funny part about the whole experience watching the match, which we'll go step by step here shortly. But it was really funny how you keep telling me Taz is your favorite wrestler. So I was like, oh, dude, Taz is gonna murder these people. He's gonna just like, you know, do some crazy shit. He literally does like 3 suplexes and then gets eliminated. And I was like, okay, what the fuck? I thought this match was gonna be all about Taz. And it ended up being the complete opposite. And I was ready to see Taz do some fucking work. And then it's like, no, he's done. I was like, Alex, what did you have me watch, bro?
Well, because the whole thing is like they're tag teaming Taz the whole time, basically. You know, like, we're going to beat him up in the middle, then we're going to take him to the corner and beat him up some more. And then Taz suplex Tanaka, and then he gets... Awesome goes for like a splash or something off the top, and like Taz meets him. And I love Joey Styles because any suplex, no matter what it does,
Tazplex.
Tazplex.
I have that in the notes. There's like the over/under half and half Tazplex. I was like, it's a suplex, dog. You can say suplex.
No, it's a Tazplex though. But he jumps up to the top, fucking Tazplexes him off the top. And then they just whoop his ass again. But I think the story is like you have this dude who's from FMW, Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, which is friggin' ECW on crack and cocaine, and they owed money to the mafia. That's what FMW was. It's crazy, right? So you have this Japanese style wrestler from FMW, and you have this giant just beating the out of Taz, and then they double finisher him. So it was like, plus, he was about to sign with WWE anyway, so they needed to. Yeah,
that's what I got the feeling of. Because they even, that's what I was gonna ask you about. Like, why was the crowd chanting "You sold out"? Yeah, and I assumed that's what it was.
Because that match happened either like mid or late '99, and then he debuted in WWE at the 2000 Royal Rumble.
Gotcha.
So it was like that. You know, they knew
that
he
window.
Signed.
Okay.
Yeah, so they needed to like, not like squash him, but like have him not get any offense in at all.
Okay. So if I were to go back and watch more Taz, should I kind of go watch this title run specifically, or?
That or, his TV title run. His Bam Bam match was really good. He had some good ones with Sabu, but I don't think you're going to like those because those are all like barbed wire tables.
I know Sabu is the madman of everything. Like I know of Sabu, and my exposure to Sabu was ECW One Night Stand, 05 and 06 with Ray, and then the previous year. And I've yet to go back and watch it. It's been a while since I've gone back to see it. But I feel like I will. To me, I feel like it would stand the test of time because it's a very muted ECW. It's not, like as crazy as I've built it up in my head. Which, again, if it makes sense, I'm okay with it. If it's nonsensical, then I'm like, okay, maybe it's just for the pop, right? But because I like there to be stories, I like there to be a reason for these people to be fighting and everything.
Right. And that's where I feel like death matches and like hardcore wrestling, like nowadays, it just doesn't make sense. Because it's like, let's go into the backyard with 20 guys watching us, and I'm going to hit you with my car. You know what I mean? Like, have you seen those matches where dudes will get hit with the car and fucking flip over?
I don't think I want to.
Or,
see, a golf cart is one thing.
No,
when you use a literal car, that's enough for me, dog.
Honda hit this. It's happened like so many times. It's stupid. But... Or like the CZW, like I know like everyone loves CZW. I'm like, this is, I don't want to say garbage because I don't want to be like that guy.
Again, it's a different flavor of ice cream. That's all that it is. Because it's still an art form. And I will give deathmatch wrestling that credit. Like it is still an art form. It's just not an art form that I enjoy.
Right.
And again, like I feel like the threshold is being pushed by AEW little by little every single time. Because I'm a huge fan of Swerve. I'm a huge fan of Hangman. He's literally my favorite AEW wrestler. But when they did the syringe spot in the cage, I was like, dog, no. And then whenever Hangman started drinking Swerve's blood, I was like,
That shit's nasty, dude.
And again, art, right?
Yeah,
that they're happy with it, and ultimately that's what matters. Cool. I'm still a fan of their work and everything, but that spot specific, I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah,
like
no.
y'all can keep that and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting to just again go back to ECW and see this as the root, because I imagine that this is kind of what people expected for WWE to do when they moved to Netflix. Because a lot of people were like, "Oh, you're on Netflix now. You don't have to follow guidelines of like TV and whatnot. So you're gonna say fuck every single sentence.
That's what I thought was about to happen.
And that's the funny thing. I don't know why people were expecting that. Same thing with John Cena now doing the retirement tour and everything. The last week so much media has dropped on John Cena, like doing interviews and whatnot. And it cracks me up how many people are like, "Well, John Cena doesn't mean this. He's a PR machine. He's this." And I was like, that's probably literally what he thinks, and who are we to say otherwise? Like, his track record is that he's happy to be there, and why would he be negative about anything?
Right.
So, anyways, I think it's hilarious how people expected this specific kind of action from Raw, moving to Netflix when WWE is not that type of company.
Well, anymore. They used to crucify Stephanie McMahon.
Again, that was the 90s. It's a completely different time. But I mean, even then, like, it cracks me up that there's still that super, what's the word I'm looking for? Passionate group of people that want this type of stuff back. And I'm like, it feels very niche to a point, because I don't know how I would feel if like every other day, like watching a show, they drop, like they say fuck or whatever. It's only impactful when you build it. Right. For example, when Cage and Adam Copeland got back together in AEW, and the hug happened, it's like, go fuck yourself. I was like, oh, dog, that was so cool. And it was awesome for the moment, because you never hear them say that, ever. So I don't know, like, do you think that could kind of work in today's sphere, or like, do you think that this ECW could work in today's sphere and be a major player like they were back in the 90s?
Probably not, honestly, because they said it in like the New Jack Dark Side of the Ring episode, where they were like, ECW was what grunge music was, but to wrestling.
I like that.
And you know what I mean? Like, it's like that all kind of like altish, type of wrestling, I guess. But like, we don't really have like that grunge culture, I guess, anymore. So I feel like it just wouldn't work anymore. You know what I mean?
I think as close as we get to it is maybe GCW, because I feel like GCW does a really good job of still like carrying that ECW heart of like, we're going to be a traveling company and we're going to put on matches that people want to see. But then also they have like their core group of people like Effie and Matt Cardona and other people and whatnot, and Ali Catch, et cetera, et cetera. And then they're still going to do their hardcore shit from time to time, which I think that's probably going to be like the closest representation now. And even then, I don't feel like they're pushing the envelope as much as ECW was, but they're still doing pretty good for themselves. Like everywhere I see them, like there doesn't go a week where I see a new GCW show be promoted from somewhere like Alaska or the East Coast or something like that. So I think while this version of ECW couldn't work, its spirit still lives on within GCW. Okay, so let's start talking about the match. So we went on a tangent, which is good, because it's always good to kind of again get a little bit more information on backgrounds and everything. That way people can kind of see where our opinions are coming from, because there are opinions. Whatever, it is what it is. So the match starts with Mike Awesome hopping the guardrail because Paul Heyman says, "Fine, fuck it. You want this match? You're gonna get this match." I guess my question is, do all three-way dances in ECW have elimination rules?
So that's the difference between a triple threat and a three-way dance.
I did not know that. So when they pinned Taz, both of them, and I was like, wait, does that mean they're both the world champion? Like, is that going to be the story that happens?
Some lay cool type shit.
Dude, I was so confused. And again, I didn't know this going into this, and this is where I feel our job as commentators is to relay that story over to everybody watching. Where if Joey Styles is like, well, now instead of being a one-on-one, this is a three-way dance. If one person gets pinned, then they're out. That's all you got to say.
Yeah, Michael Cole does that good.
Yeah, and you know that's you gotta always treat every single viewer as a new viewer.
Right.
And you know that I was super confused. Like I was into the match. I was like, cool, they're just beating the shit out of each other. And you know, like you said, a technical match to start the first section of it to get Taz out of there. And then that's when the hardcore shit started happening. So I'm trying to think of spots in the match that I was like, ooh, holy crap.
There was the freaking Tanaka elbow to drop Taz just for Mike Awesome. He's like 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Hitting that massive splash off the top rope just to double cover. And then like Taz leaves. And then what happens right after?
So let me see.
Plus, I did like Joey. I know you don't like Joey Styles.
I never said I don't like Joey Styles. I never said that. If people like to assume things.
Okay, my bad. But I really liked Joey Styles' delivery when Taz got pinned. He was like, Taz got pinned? Wait. Taz got pinned? Like, are we dead ass? That's like if like Roman Reigns, you know, I know Michael Cole did finish the story, but like it was like the same, like, wait, did we really just see Roman Reigns get pinned right now? It was like that type of delivery. I really liked it. But yeah, so they get back up, whatever, and then Mike Awesome just throws Tanaka to the outside and then hits. He was moving like X Division types. He freaking jumps over the top rope,
The
suicide
dive was
dives.
insane.
Yeah. Like, dude, you're 6'7", 6'8", 300 pounds. Why are you?
So here, I'm gonna just hit the notes like one by one. As I'm just gonna like these are just like my immediate thoughts as things are happening, right? I like the fact that the show was in Chicago. I will point that out because Chicago is amazing. That is a town I eventually want to perform in. I would love to do a show in Chicago. If somebody wants to book me in Chicago, let me know. But I did like the part before Taz gets eliminated because we haven't talked much about that part because I feel like they're still just building during that part.
Wait.
I did like Joey Styles telling us about Mike Awesome's previous injuries and everything because then that started again building that doubt whether he was going to win or not. And then they started talking about the story of the history between Tanaka and Awesome. And then they started talking about the hype videos that you talked about and everything like that. So they did a really good job of laying out the story at that point rather than explaining the rules, which is fine because I'm good for story. That's what I want. That's what drew me in. Right. And then when the climax of the story was Taz getting pinned, I was like, oh, we're going to have a new champion. Okay, cool. And that's when they started focusing more on the action. But you had something?
Yeah. There was something really cool. So like, or wait, no. Okay, this is like after the big dive, I think. But like, what am I writing right now?
Can't read your own handwriting.
No, I'm freaking crazy. Okay, yeah. So, okay, never mind. This was later in the match.
Okay,
but
cool.
Yeah.
So they're doing a really good job of telling me the story. Also, shouts out to Don Callis for being on commentary. I recognized that voice, and I was like,
he's the like
Cyrus.
from the Cyrus.
And it's funny because I only knew about this because again, Gustavo pointed it out. Because the match I watched with Gustavo, Joey Styles was a solo commentator, and that's tough. That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
So now that I heard somebody else was like, I know that voice from somewhere, and for some reason, somewhere I just started saying bald-headed fuck, and I was like, that's Don Callis, and that's when I put two and two together. But
you know what's crazy? I never knew till just now they were the same person.
Hey, again, I learned that like 2 months ago when I did my episode with Gustavo. So you're not alone. It's fine. So then it was very basic three-way match at first until Taz gets eliminated. That's when it really starts hitting that next stride.
Yeah.
Because then you see everybody from ECW out on the stage.
Yeah.
Taz walks up to them, and then he's eliminated. But then the rest of the match starts happening. That's where Mike Awesome does the insane dive to the outside, and the fact that he's able to pull that off in like how big the dude is, and go all the way over to the rails, like
dude, he cleared that thing like it was nothing.
Yeah,
which I guess when you're 6'8", it's not that hard.
That's
but
insanity.
Still, like jumped over, and he still landed perfectly. It was crazy.
Yeah. And then that's when all hell starts breaking loose. He sets up the table on the outside, dude. And I'm like, who's gonna go through that table? I don't know.
Yeah.
And the mat. Again, normally when I do these episodes, I always like talking about like, the difference in the wrestling from back then to now. But this really just felt chaotic in a good way, where I didn't really necessarily care for the wrestling itself. It was more just like a spot heavy match where I want to talk about the spots, which is, you know, kind of interesting to look back on because I watched the 97 Halloween Havoc match and I was like, this match was incredible. Like
with Mysterio and Eddie.
That was the first episode I did for the podcast. And I was like, that was incredible. Like that was a match. Holy crap. Like that was cool. And then I watched a Japanese match and I was like, that was amazing. That was great. It was Kenta Kobashi and Shibata. No, not Shibata. I forget the name. Not Suzuki. I forgot the name, but it's on my list. Okay. And I watched it and I was like, that was amazing. And then I watched the Yoshi match. Same thing. I was like, that was incredible. So I had a lot to talk about the wrestling. But for this match, I didn't really feel like I remembered much, so to speak, out of like the wrestling. I didn't get much out of the wrestling. But what I did get out of it, again, were the spots.
Right.
And how I would never, ever want to see any of these spots happen today. Which, again, we'll get to the chair shots in a second.
Dude, the fucking...
we see the table be set up on the outside, and then they continue fighting. And during this time, Joey Styles does a great job, again, of telling us, like, he's never beaten him. Mike Awesome hasn't been here. He literally wasn't even scheduled to be in the match.
Yeah.
He came from the crowd, and Taz egged him on. Is like, come here.
Dude.
Yeah, and so then we see Mike Awesome take Tanaka to the inside.
Yeah.
And then he does a fucking like razor's edge over the top onto the table.
No, some shit happened before that. You don't remember?
Go ahead, go for it. Remind me.
Sit out awesome bomb, which is crazy. And then Tanaka. By the way, the ref wasn't doing any favors for these guys because you know it's like 1, 2.
That is
the ref was going 1, 2. And I'm like,
that is something I wrote down. I was like, what the fuck is this ref on,
like, dude? Let them like breathe for a second. Yeah. But
build tension.
Yeah.
Kind of like fucking Mike Chioda in Raw 2.
Dude, that shit, fuck. But so he like, and then he sets up the table on the outside. He tries to powerbomb Tanaka through it, but he gets out of it, and then he sends Awesome to the apron, and he hit this like springboard like from the corner clothesline, but then they both like spill out to the outside, and then like, and then they go, back inside. Yeah.
Okay, and then that's where we see the razor's edge to the outside.
I think there was like one more thing, but it might have been that.
Yeah. So the razor's edge to the outside.
Yeah.
Literally, you said he's 6'8"?
Yeah.
From 6'8", from the top rope down to the, literally, we have a ring right here so we can show you.
Same size, by the way.
Yeah, so from the top rope, so we're like, this is the bottom rope. If you want to grab it really quick, that's the bottom rope. And then the second rope is right above there.
Here, I can stand
and
up.
I'm
go for 6'3".
Okay, 6'3".
This is the top rope.
So you can see how high that is, all the way into the ground, right down here. And it didn't even look like padded concrete or anything like that. It was just straight up floor.
Yeah.
Goes through the table onto the floor, and I'm fearing for this dude's life. And I like the fact that, again, Joey Styles mentioned on commentary that this is not an environment that Tanaka is not used to, because he's beaten Onita in Japan, which I know who Onita is, because, you know, deathmatch legend and everything. So the fact that you have a win over that guy, I'm just like, okay, holy shit. This dude is kind of crazy. And you know that if you know type thing,
right?
You understand how big of a deal that is. So just to see that happen, I was like, okay, so he's tough as nails. Yeah. Cool, I get it. I'm understanding the message. Right. And that mixed in with what I know of Japanese culture in general when it comes to wrestling, the fighting spirit, right?
Yeah.
We see the fighting spirit in action with the chair shots. And A, they're unprotected chair shots. B, they're not even steel. It's fucking wood on the chairs. The chairs were wood. I'm pretty sure. I gotta go take back because I may be mistaking it for something else, because I watched two things back to back. So I may be misremembering.
I think because
maybe one of them was wood. I don't know.
No, because I remember freaking Mike Awesome taking the chair and just fucking swinging for the fence.
Yeah.
And
no, wait, you're right. Yeah, it is steel. Yeah, you're right.
And Tanaka, not even like hands up, nothing. He just goes. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, dude.
I hope he's okay.
I'm sure he's fine.
As a matter of fact, when I was watching the match, I saw like the third chair shot land, and I looked up on Wikipedia, is he alive? Thankfully he is.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, like I could no, like I saw a recent picture of him, and like he had like all the marks on his forehead from
you could see him,
bleeding
like,
and everything.
even back then, like on his arms and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought the craziest and also the most safe looking chair shot was when they had like the stage that led like straight to the ring, you know, so it was like raised and everything, right? And it was like a platform.
Yeah.
And they both get on there, and Mike Awesome's like on the ropes. Tanaka runs all the way from the top of the stage, freaking jumps.
That cracked me up. That cracked me up. That was, I think, for me, that was comedy, even though the me didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
But I was like, what does the running start get you? If you're running with the chair to land, like, I don't know if that adds extra momentum, but hey, pop off, king. That's your thing. But yeah, the chair shots were intense.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think of what other hardcore things happened, because the table and the chair happened, and those were the two things that stood out to me.
They had they had like maybe 2 or 3 chairs like in one corner, excuse me, and then Tanaka hits like a tornado DDT, boom, right on the chairs. 1-2 kick. I'm like, dude, give him a second.
Yeah, the ref really did them no favors.
Dude, how did the ref no sell the chair shots? You know, like he just took all these chair shots, the tornado DDT on the chair shots, and you're making him no selling it by kicking out at essentially 1.
Yeah. The funny thing too is like I've always heard about this as a lesson for referees, is you've always got to make yourself invisible. If people notice you, you're doing things wrong.
Right.
So I think, you know, just in general, like we're talking about the ref in this match, it's like, yikes. Like, which again, not saying that's a bad job. Please don't fucking bury us or anything. It's just opinions, right? But yeah, dude, like the fact that the ref was counting so fast, I was just like, this is tough. And it's, in my opinion, it's hard to tell the story that way of like selling something as impactful, because then again, you make it look hokey, you make it look fake, which, I mean, I know a lot of us hate the F word around here and whatnot, but you know, predetermined is my preferred word, but like the buildup of the suspense of like, you know, the fighting back, you can tell something's not real if something impossible happens, which I would like to see a regular person get hit with a chair and then kick out at 2, or like be pinned down and then try and, you know, kick out at 2. So, but yeah, dude, I'm not gonna get it. That was actually why I texted you. I was like, I can't believe you made me watch that. The chair shots,
the chair shots,
those were rough to watch, dude. Those were really rough to watch. I could.
There was only like, there wasn't too many. There was like maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I remember watching Rocky and Mankind and just, dude, what was it, like 12,
I have seen
13?
that match. Yeah, that was one of the random matches that I've seen. Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I am actually going to read you line by line what I had on here. So is everything a Tazplex? Question mark.
Yes.
So is there just a triangle of hatred between these two? Yes. Was there a triangle of hatred between the two?
I wouldn't say Taz hated Tanaka because it was like their first match.
Competition.
But he was just like, you ain't shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, and that was typical Taz.
Yeah, that's just Taz.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then literally, I'm reading these word for word, and I'm telling you how many exclamation marks or question marks I put on here. Bro, what? Eliminated in all caps with 3 question marks. What just happened in all caps? Because like I was so confused. I was like, what is happening? And then I put holy dive, which we know exactly what we're talking about. Running chair shot, LOL, in all caps. LOL. Fucking drop to the table outside, nah fam. Which again, these are my immediate thoughts. Like these are the notes that I write for myself just to remember like the flow of the match and everything.
Right.
Then the drop on the table outside, I will point out that one thing that I don't want to say took me out of it, but again, adds to the not being able to get fully invested into what I'm watching was after the drop happens, there's like a second of silence, and then you hear Joe Styles, oh my God. And I was like, wouldn't you react to that as it's happening?
Flying.
Like, and again, I was like, it felt very delayed to the point where I was like, are you there live? Are you like, I don't know, like something about the commentary so far from what I've seen from Joey Styles, kind of like the first one, I give him no faults because he's by himself and I know how hard that is. But now he had a partner and I'm just like, there's something here that I do feel like you do an amazing job, but there's something that's missing from making it be like you're like an all-time legendary commentator.
I think one of the problems with it was that they commentated in the back. So they watched on monitors.
Okay. See, that's something I did not know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something I did not know.
They didn't have like a desk or like chairs or anything. They would stand in front of this ECW banner and they just had a monitor and headsets. That's all they had.
And they weren't out there with the crowd or anything like that. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And see that's why I like sharing my opinions with people, because then they're like, "Oh, well, this is what happened. This is what happened." I was like, I always assume that everybody's out at ringside or something like we are on a fucking stage blocked by a pole and we have to like divide our view as we watch and everything. So I get it.
Right now? Yeah.
I get it. And the funny thing is about our commentary here at Reality of Wrestling, you also have to put into aspect the fact that we are watching from our perspective, but we have to pretend we're looking through the lens of the camera as if we have monitors. And that's tough. And especially when you're like, I want to call that person being over there in the corner, but it's like, but the camera doesn't see them.
Right.
So it's like, we don't want to spoil the shot that's about to happen and stuff. So that's the tough part. One day when we get monitors, it's going to be game changing and it's going to be so different here at Row. But until that time comes, we got to figure out the framing of the shot. Okay, let me see. What else did I have written on here? The oh my God was delayed. See, and I even put it on here. I don't know what it is about this commentary that just seems to be lacking for me, and I can't quite put my finger on it. But now you've just, given me more insight into that, which again is something that I appreciate because it's something that I don't know, and I can't fault somebody for doing the best that they can with what they're given, even if it's not quote unquote quality. Because I also have my different definition of quality, and I feel like I've only had like maybe 5 shows where I'm like, that was peak Kirby. And other than that, I'm always like constantly judging myself. Like, how can I get better and stuff? But again, circumstances are different. And now that I know that they're doing commentary in the back, that changes everything. Because it's very different when you're out there amongst the crowd and you feel the energy than if you're like in a small little secluded room being like, oh yeah, look, wrestling and stuff.
Because we've done that before. Watched like, these
we watched Ryan and Dex Harm.
And then we watched Roxanne versus like Zelina Ivy?
I think so.
Yeah. So those were like kind of difficult because we couldn't,
because you don't feel the energy of the crowd. You have to fake it.
Yeah. But breakouts were easier, but the breakout before this past one was easy.
We were throwing a curveball. We were throwing a curveball, and funny enough, Buck and I talked about it, and I put you over on that on that episode. But no, dude, we were throwing a curveball.
You told me, you were like, "Yeah, I put you over," and I listened to it, and he was like, "Yeah, he just didn't do as bad as I thought he would do." I'm like, "Thanks, Kirby. That's great.
That's me putting you over, brother. Trust me. I have been with some interesting partners for commentary. So, but no, truly, for what we had, for what we were given, for what we prepped, it was all just thrown to the wayside. So that was tough. Okay, so let's see. What else do I have on here? Holy fucking chair shot to the head, bro.
Holy
what the fuck?
Chair shot to the head, bro.
I am shocked that this dude is still alive after Googling. The ref counts are way too fast.
R.I.P.
And then
Mike Awesome,
the top rope chair shot.
Where Mike Awesome was on the ground.
And dog, that was rough.
Because I'm thinking about it in the same way, like trash can spots. When someone in it, you don't, you know what I mean? So I'm like, maybe it's similar to that.
I mean, you could rupture an eardrum with,
that's true,
with that kind of stuff. At least that's the safest thing that you can do in a trash can is get hit by a kendo stick. But even then, that's gonna fuck up your eardrum because the vibration of everything inside is just insane. It looks cool, but again, is it worth the damage? But we're all fucking crazy here in wrestling. We all got a little screw loose.
Be a wrestler, dude.
Gotta
be crazy.
So the last thing I got on my notes is the finish was good. Now, please explain to me why this was a big deal, this match in specific.
So, okay. So it was a big deal because, low-key, everyone knew that Taz was leaving, right? Yeah. It's just, we didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So imagine literally Roman Reigns was holding the title and finished the story. 5 months later, he's in AEW.
That's insane. Okay.
Right. That's what this match basically was, right? But Taz was like their Roman Reigns after their John Cena, which was Shane Douglas, right? It's like Taz.
Shouts out Shane Douglas. I worked a show with him like a month ago.
Oh, dude, love the franchise stuff. But he did the Mark Henry thing like before the Mark Henry did it, where he was like, "I'm gonna retire." Nope, fuck you.
Nice.
Yeah. And then so it was supposed to be just them, and they were like, "Well, Tanaka's gonna win," you know, because like Taz is leaving, whatever. But then it became an even bigger deal because holy shit, Mike Awesome's here. You know what the fuck? He wasn't even booked. You know what's going on? And then boom, Taz gets eliminated. Holy shit, we're gonna have a new champion. Like what the fuck, right? And then everyone from the locker room, like friggin' Balls Mahoney, Paul Heyman, you know, they're all watching the match, and Taz leaves. I think he stays on the ramp, but or maybe just in the back. I'm not sure. But
They did do a few shots where it showed that they stayed in the ramp, like on the stage.
he did?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's watching then. And then whatever, Awesome wins. And then Taz comes back in the ring and snatches the title away from the ref, gives it one final goodbye kiss, is like, "Here you go," right? And then he's leaving the ring and everyone's chanting, Taz, Taz, Taz. He's like, "Nah, fuck that shit. Awesome." He's basically like passing the torch, you know? So it's just like one of those like moment switches, you know, where like you can literally see the torch getting passed. Like Roman and Cody at 40. That was a torch getting passed. I can't think of another one off the top of my head, but
Rhodes and Cena at SummerSlam this year.
yeah, another one. Dang, he got 2 torch passes. That's crazy.
I mean, the face of the franchise, and then you know that was his first championship. So his first world championship.
But yeah, you can just like, it's always just so cool getting to see a passing of the torch moment.
And we're gonna see one in this upcoming Saturday potentially.
In the Fatal 4-Way?
Gunther.
Oh yeah, fuck my head. Yeah, I was thinking of Sub-Zero.
No, that's next week.
Yeah.
We moved our show because of John Cena, which this is gonna air after that, so we would have already known what happens and everything.
Dude,
so.
I really hope Cena doesn't tap.
I don't think he will.
I think.
Dog, I don't think he will.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so growing up, I was always one of those like, Cena sucks, Cena
Same.
sucks. Yeah.
We all had our Cena sucks phase.
Yeah. But I don't know. Plus, I thought the heel run was going to be so much better.
I loved it.
Even without Travis Scott and The Rock.
I loved it.
I feel like he should have just done it without The Rock and Travis Scott. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I really hope he doesn't tap, because I wasn't like a John Cena guy until like recently, till he put over Bray Wyatt at Mania 36.
Incredible match.
Yeah, that was a good match.
Yeah.
Well, it was like,
funny enough, both of the ECW episodes that I've had, we get on the topic of Bray Wyatt in the Firefly Funhouse match.
dude, freaking Bray Wyatt, my first tattoo, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Bray Wyatt. Dude, I was in Target when I found out he died, and I was leaving, and to, and someone else, I looked fucking insane. This kid just bawling with like a bag of whatever I was buying, crying at Target.
Sad times.
Yeah, dude.
Alrighty, so that was the match pretty much that we had discussed and everything. I feel like this is probably the first time where I've asked a lot more questions about just stuff in general, because like I said, like I watched the match, but there was nothing really that I took from it other than spots, which is not bad. I always like seeing where people get inspired from, because I have heard of Mike Awesome before, but I've never seen him work. Dude. So this was the first time I watched Mike Awesome work.
You know the crazy thing? The craziest happened after the match too, actually. So like Mike Awesome held the championship for like however long. I don't remember how long it was. But then Tanaka wins it for like 5 days, right?
Okay.
So he beats Mike Awesome, holds it for 5 days or whatever. It was really short. And then Awesome beats him for it again. But then Mike Awesome goes to WCW and becomes the Fat Chick Thrilla. You gotta love Vince Russo, right?
Yeah, love Russo. Yeah, we love a different Russo around these parts.
That's Chris, buddy. But so then Paul Heyman is like, "Hey, I need my belt back." And he's like, so he calls up Vince McMahon. Is like, "Hey, I need Taz," right? So Awesome and Taz have a match. just for Taz to win back the title, just to go on the next Raw and have a 3-minute match with Triple H when he comes out with the belt on too.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. I'm like, why? Like, I get why you would get Taz, but at the same time, why would you get Taz? You know? Like, you have Raven, you have Lance Storm, you have, probably shouldn't put it on New Jack, but he's there, you know?
Yeah. That's interesting. Like, and that's another thing that I also like really like hearing about, like, you know, in the moment stuff. Because what's funny about this is that you were not there. You didn't grow up watching this.
Dude, I don't think I was even a thought yet.
Yeah. So like you went back and learned all this stuff, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do now.
Yeah.
And, you know, go back and watch the old stuff. So I always appreciate like a younger person than I am teaching me these things, because then I'm like, that's a different perspective. And, you know, that's how you kind of get different perspectives on everything in general, learning from different people that see things differently than you do. So you've taught me some stuff, which, you know, thank you. I really do like the fact that every single person that I bring on here, we learn something new. And, you know, it expands my my mind when it comes to, like, you know, stuff that we can talk about. And when I, like, for example, Lucha Underground, now I know that I can talk to you about Lucha Underground, even though I've seen the tattoo, and I was like, as a matter of fact, while we're talking about Lucha Underground, who do you, I don't know if I've told you this, who do you think is my favorite? You get one shot out of the entire roster.
Your favorite out of Lucha Underground. Okay.
I will give you a clue that'll help really dwindle it down. They are currently in WWE.
Currently in WWE? Okay.
Yes.
No, that's not my guess. Is it Jeff Cobb?
Yeah.
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 Because we were talking about it, and you're like, I love Matanza.
Dude. Matanza's the best.
You know what's crazy? My favorite Lucha Underground guy is Mil Muertes.
Dude, their match was incredible in season 2.
Their Grave Consequences was insane, dude.
Yeah.
I love Mil Muertes.
But yeah, it just, again, it in a way, like, I like talking to even the younger people about older stuff, because, again, you guys see things through a much different lens than I do. You guys interpret these things, and you guys are inspired by different things than I was and everything. Right. So when you told me ECW, I was like, okay, I got to jump on this because I got to find out why. Right. And then, you know, now I learned a little bit.
What does this kid know about ECW?
Hey, and it's not from a negative way either. Like, I'm not looking down on you for any of that stuff either, because, again, it's new perspective. Like, on the next episode, I'm talking to Russo again about ECW. So you'll have to find out. So, you know, it's very interesting, because I've talked to Gustavo, who is a legend here at Raw, and is one of my favorite people who I've learned from. Now I'm talking to you, and now I'm going to talk to Russo. So, you know, all different kinds of stuff here and there. So it's always fun to look at and just see why you guys are interested in this company that I never really got into. But that's not because I didn't want to, but just because it never really crossed my paths because of the way that I grew up and everything. Right. But truly, Alex, thank you so much for, you know, the conversation. Thank you for, you know, showing me new things and having me experience new things, and, you know, just learning a little bit more about Mike Awesome. Taz, I finally saw my first Taz match, even though technically it wasn't a Taz match.
Dude, watch him and Bam Bam.
I probably will, because I do need to watch more Bam Bam Bigelow. Yeah. I've seen like maybe 1 or 2 things, and that's it.
Or you should watch from the dirt sheets, you know.
I love dirt sheets.
Yeah. It was Taz and Kurt Angle, and like Taz was taking the suplexes too good or whatever. Again, dirt sheets, so I don't fucking know shit.
Yeah.
But I guess they all politicked him, being like, no, he's too dangerous, because they were both like selling the suplexes because they're suplex guys. Yeah. But they were like, no, he's too dangerous to work with. He almost dropped Kurt on his head. Da 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 da. Dirt sheets. I wasn't there. I don't know.
Fair enough. So before we head out of here, do you have anything else that you would like to plug or anything?
Yeah. R.I.P. Mike Awesome. He's the GOAT. Always check on your mental health. That's about it.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here for the Missed Retrospective. We'll be back next week with another ECW episode, or maybe a movie. I don't know if I'm going to split them up. I don't know yet, because I'm recording 2 more episodes tomorrow and the day after, and that should take us here until the end of the year. But until then, this has been Kirby Carreon for the Missed Retrospective, and we'll see you on the next one.